Most people do not lose power because they are weak. They lose it because they speak when silence would have made them untouchable. There are certain moments where saying anything immediately lowers your status. Miss those moments, and people read you like an open book. If this already changed how you think about power, pause for a second and subscribe. Because the difference between being respected and being ignored often comes down to what you do not say and when you choose not to say it. When emotions are high, silence is not about running away. It is about control. Because the moment emotion rises, leverage starts to leak through tone, speed, body language, and word choice long before logic has time to catch up. Anger pushes people to explain. Excitement pushes people to share too much. Frustration pushes people to defend themselves. And all three create the same issue. They move you from observer to participant. The person who speaks while emotional is no longer controlling the frame. They are reacting inside someone else's frame. Silence stops that loss of control. It forces a pause between trigger and response. And that pause is where leverage exists. In high emotion moments, the nervous system wants relief, not results. So people talk to release pressure, not to gain advantage. Silence denies that release. It keeps your inner state unreadable and your intentions unclear. This uncertainty creates imbalance because others now have to guess where you stand, what you are thinking, and what move you will make next. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with unreadable people, especially when tension is present. So the emotional person across from you often escalates, explains more, or reveals motivations without even noticing it. Silence also prevents early commitment. Once words are spoken under emotional pressure, they become anchors that are hard to pull back without losing credibility. Staying quiet allows emotional intensity to fade naturally, restoring access to clear thinking while keeping your options open. It also signals self-control, which is subconsciously read as strength, steadiness, and authority. People trust and follow those who appear calm under pressure, not because they are louder, but because they are harder to shake. Silence in emotional moments is therefore not passive. It is an active choice not to give control to impulse. It buys time, gathers information, and shifts psychological weight onto the other side, all without open conflict. The key is that silence must be intentional, not frozen. Calm posture, neutral facial expression, and steady breathing show that the pause is chosen, not confusion. This turns emotional chaos into an advantage instead of a weakness, allowing pressure to move outward instead of inward, and letting others reveal more than they planned while you remain steady and protected. Talking too quickly is rarely about clarity. It is usually about anxiety, trying to escape uncertainty, and the human brain notices that imbalance immediately. Speed in speech under pressure signals that the mind is working too hard to hold control. And when control looks strained, authority drops. Fast talking squeezes thought, removes meaningful pauses, and replaces precision with momentum, which may feel productive to the speaker but feels rushed to the listener. People do not see rapid speech as intelligence in tense moments. They see it as leakage. It suggests nervous energy, a need to persuade, or an unconscious fear of silence. Silence, when left empty, creates psychological weight, and those who rush to fill it show discomfort with that weight. That discomfort is read as internal weakness, even if the words themselves make sense. The nervous system reacts to rhythm and tone before content. So when someone speaks too fast, the body communicates insecurity before the mind can process meaning. Fast speech also removes strategic freedom. Once words speed up, pulling back becomes almost impossible without visible retreat, which further harms perceived confidence. Slowing down or choosing silence instead restores control over pace, and pace equals dominance in communication. The person who controls tempo controls attention. Silence interrupts the urge to over-explain, and over-explaining is one of the clearest signs of low leverage. Explanations given too early suggest responsibility where none was requested. They show that the speaker feels judged. Silence rejects that idea completely. It keeps the frame neutral and forces others to explain their own expectations. Rapid speech also reduces listening quality. When someone focuses on pushing words out, they stop taking in useful information. Silence reverses that direction, turning the interaction into an information gathering process instead of a performance. Those who stay quiet while others speak quickly gain insight into emotional states, priorities, and hidden weak points. Over time, people connect calm pacing with reliability and fast pacing with instability. Regardless of intention, silence slows the interaction without resistance, grounding the moment and bringing back authority. It shows that nothing needs to be rushed. Nothing is out of control, and nothing requires immediate defense, allowing calm to replace urgency and stability to replace noise. Silence becomes powerful when you want others to reveal themselves because people naturally try to fill gaps in conversation, especially when they sense uncertainty or pause. The human mind is wired to answer silence with explanation, justification, or added detail. And the longer you stay quiet, the more they reveal about intentions, weaknesses, and priorities without realizing it. When someone is being tested or questioned, they often present scenarios, hypothetical questions, or subtle challenges to measure your reaction. If you respond right away, you give them insight into your thinking, your limits, and your emotional triggers. If you remain silent instead, the pressure shifts onto them. They are forced to interpret your quiet, make assumptions, and often speak more in an effort to fill the space. Silence in this situation is not emptiness. It is a mirror. It reflects their expectations, insecurities, and strategy back onto them. Each pause becomes a psychological tool, allowing observation without exposure. The longer you hold controlled silence, the more you collect information about behavior patterns, the order of their priorities, and even hidden motives. People are naturally impatient with unreadable individuals. When they cannot predict your reaction, they try harder to influence, convince, or mislead, often giving more than they planned. Silence creates a space where information flows from the other person to you without effort, and it builds an aura of authority because it signals self-possession. The key is purpose. The quiet must be active, supported by calm posture, steady breathing, and small engagement signals like eye contact or slight nods so that silence feels chosen rather than unsure or confused. Over time, this controlled restraint creates a dynamic where the other person unconsciously adjusts to your rhythm, speaking more carefully or sharing more detail in search of reaction. By allowing others to fill the conversational space, you keep strategic advantage, gather insight, and prepare leverage, turning silence into a tool that uncovers truth without confrontation, reveals intention without prompting, and positions you as the steady observer while they unknowingly show their hand. Speaking during a challenge or test, especially in a public or high-pressure situation, almost always lowers authority because words become a risk before they become an asset. When someone questions you, challenges your position, or puts you on the spot, the instinct to defend or justify yourself is strong, but it works against you. Explaining yourself signals that the frame does not belong to you. It shows that your position is open for debate, that your authority depends on approval, and that your confidence needs support. Silence, on the other hand, communicates control, calmness, and inner certainty. It allows others to project their own assumptions onto you while you remain unreadable. Every word spoken under pressure becomes information for observers and challengers, revealing priorities, emotional triggers, and even hidden doubts. By staying silent, you remove those signals, forcing others to interpret the pause, which often leads them to overthink, overcommit, or accidentally expose weaknesses in their own stance. Silence here is not weakness. It is a deliberate pause that shows strength without open conflict. It shifts the balance. The one who remains quiet appears steady, untouchable, and measured, while those pushing for a reaction appear reactive, anxious, or too eager. Human psychology is designed to notice the gap between expectation and reality. When a challenge is met with calm silence, the mind of the challenger struggles to understand you. They may escalate, over-explain, or even offer concessions just to break the uncomfortable quiet. Silence also protects flexibility. Once a statement is made under pressure, it becomes fixed. Taking it back damages trust. By staying silent, you keep freedom and strategic control, able to respond at the exact moment that creates the strongest impact. Posture, tone, and eye contact support the silence, turning it from simple quiet into a clear signal of authority. Over time, people naturally respect those who do not rush to defend themselves because controlled silence shows that no outside pressure can disturb inner balance. In high-pressure tests, words are rarely necessary. What is necessary is presence, steady focus, and the discipline to let silence do the work that careless speech would destroy. Composure, and the quiet confidence that the frame is yours, no matter what outside attempts try to challenge it. Silence during negotiations is one of the most overlooked forms of leverage because the person who speaks first almost always gives away power without even realizing it. In any conversation where the stakes are high, whether about money, status, or decision-making, the urge to explain, defend, or respond right away is strong, but it works against strategic advantage. Speaking first shows that you are eager to ease tension, which subconsciously communicates need, doubt, or a readiness to compromise. Silence, on the other hand, pushes the other side to fill the space, and in doing so, they often reveal their priorities, limits, and hidden pressures. When people feel quiet, they grow uncomfortable and try to reduce that discomfort by over-explaining or offering concessions, sometimes without noticing it. Every word spoken in that empty space is a gift, and silence makes sure the gift comes from the other side, not from you. Also, silence creates a psychological imbalance. One side holds the information, the control, and the patience, while the other struggles to shape the outcome. It stops premature commitments and keeps choices open because once words are spoken, they lock positions and reduce flexibility. Silence also shows confidence. A negotiator who can sit through a pause without anxiety appears in control of the situation, which often pushes the other person to act before you do. The effect builds over time. Steady and strategic silence trains others to respect your boundaries, wait for your input, and even over-adjust to meet your unspoken expectations. The pause must feel intentional, not unsure. Posture, calm breathing, and steady eye contact show that the quiet is controlled and deliberate, not fearful or indecisive. In this way, silence changes the negotiation from reactive to proactive. You are no longer chasing agreements or explanations. You are quietly guiding the conversation, allowing the other person to show their position and giving yourself the chance to respond from a place of maximum strength. Silence in negotiations is not emptiness. It is leverage in its purest and most subtle form, turning restraint into authority and observation into power without ever raising your voice. Silence is especially important when someone is venting, probing, or testing limits because speaking too soon often makes you part of their story instead of an observer of it, and every word carries the risk of revealing more than you planned. When people talk to release tension, express frustration, or test your reaction, they are unknowingly sharing insight into their priorities, fears, and strategies. The natural human reaction is to fill silence with comfort, defense, or explanation. Responding too quickly breaks the flow of information, closes doors to observation, and signals that your state is reactive rather than steady. By staying silent, you create a psychological gap that the other person feels pushed to fill, often overcompensating or exposing motives, weaknesses, and limits without understanding it. Silence also works as a boundary. It shows that while you are present and attentive, you are not an open channel for manipulation, emotional dumping, or pressure. People reading your quietness often overthink your intentions, projecting ideas that may not be true, which gives you insight into their mindset without direct questioning. Silence also gives you time to process what is being revealed, allowing you to measure risks, advantages, or patterns before committing to a response. It turns emotional moments into strategic opportunities, helping you observe behavior under calm conditions while others rush to push their narrative. Controlled silence shows authority, calmness, and self-control because the speaker expects a reaction, but none comes. That absence of immediate response creates subtle tension in their perception. Over time, consistently using silence in these situations trains others to be more careful, to over-explain, or to reveal more than necessary, giving you ongoing awareness and leverage. The key is that the silence is deliberate, supported by attentive presence, steady posture, and calm breathing, signaling that the pause is intentional, not uncertain. In this way, silence transforms emotional venting and probing from a possible weakness into a controlled space where observation, understanding, and leverage are gained without confrontation or exposure. You allow the other person to show their position while you remain steady, unreadable, and strategically dominant. Silence is one of the strongest tools when you do not yet have full information, because speaking too early locks you into positions you may later regret and exposes you to manipulation without leverage. The human instinct is to fill gaps in understanding with words, explanations, or guesses. But doing so in uncertainty hands control to those who already have more clarity. When you stay quiet, you keep flexibility, protect your options, and avoid commitments that could be used against you. Silence here acts as both a shield and a probe. It shields you from revealing intentions or biases too soon, and it probes the environment as others naturally try to fill the silence. People feel uneasy around unreadable figures. When they meet silence, they overcompensate by offering information, sharing priorities, or clarifying positions in ways they might not have shared otherwise. Every moment you resist the urge to speak allows observation, analysis, and evaluation of patterns without affecting the environment with your own early judgments. Silence also communicates inner control and patience. It quietly shows that you are thoughtful, measured, and not moved by pressure, which shapes how others deal with you. In negotiations, problem solving, or strategic talks, those who speak first under uncertainty often anchor themselves, while the silent observer gains a deeper understanding of the situation. Silence turns uncertainty into leverage because the one who speaks first usually commits, explains, or reveals more than needed, while the one who remains silent keeps a tactical advantage. The pause must be active and purposeful. Posture, tone, gaze, and breathing all confirm that the quiet is intentional rather than hesitant. This controlled silence sets the pace of the interaction, gently guiding the flow while allowing others to reveal information without meaning to. Over time, people begin to understand that silence reflects awareness and presence, and they naturally approach conversations with more caution, revealing more in their attempt to draw out a response. By staying silent until you fully understand the situation, you turn uncertainty into a strategic asset, observing, gathering insight, and shaping outcomes from a position of steady composure and authority. Silence becomes even more powerful when your presence alone is enough, because talking too much in these moments weakens impact, breaks authority, and shifts attention away from the weight you already hold. Being present, calm, composed, and fully aware naturally commands attention and signals influence without a single word. Yet many people feel the need to fill this space with commentary, explanation, or defense, weakening the quiet dominance of simple presence. When you speak without need, you turn what should be focused strength into noise, reducing the psychological tension your presence creates and giving others unnecessary openings to question, interpret, or redirect the energy in the room. Silence, by contrast, strengthens what already exists. It allows the room and the people inside it to adjust to your energy, making them reveal intentions, offer concessions, or respond in ways that confirm your authority without direct conflict. The strength of quiet presence lies in restraint. It communicates confidence, self-control, and clarity, showing that your influence does not depend on explanation, persuasion, or constant words. Observers naturally notice pauses in speech and action. Those pauses create a subtle, almost magnetic tension that draws attention to you and gives you a psychological edge because others are now moving at your pace rather than their own. Controlled silence in this setting also builds anticipation. People listen more closely, choose their words carefully, and assign greater meaning to your actions precisely because you are not over-explaining, defending, or reacting to every small trigger. By saying less, you make each word carry more weight. By holding back, you make your presence stronger. Silence, used with awareness and intention, becomes not the absence of power, but the clearest expression of it.